Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing something that I am very passionate about, which is an essential skill that you're going to need for doing research. I did not know anything about research when I was in my undergrad at the beginning, and it really scared me. And one of the things that I quickly realized was how much research you have to read to be able to understand everything else in research. So today I'm going to walk you through how to read a research article. Today we're going to be talking about a collagen supplementation paper, so it shouldn't be too complicated in terms of the content, but walking you through my process step by step of how I read a research paper and how I figure out what are key points from it that I would need to know to write my own research paper or to just be more informed on a particular scientific topic. It'll be pretty overwhelming when you first start reading research articles, so I'm just going through a really easy paper, very easy to understand, just to show you the basic format, teach you some tips and tricks about how to read and understand what's in a paper. And if you really like this video, comment down below and let me know if you would like me to do one that's on a more difficult biology paper, so that way I can kind of show you how to understand what's being talked about when you have no idea what they're saying, because that in and of itself is a subset of reading research literature that I'm not going to be covering in today's video. Today is just the very basics of reading research papers. So let's get started. All right, so first and foremost, you need to find a database that will work for what you're looking to research. And I use PubMed for just about everything. I feel like with the content I'm looking for, this is a perfect place that has everything I'm looking for, my one-stop shop. It's very reputable. I will go ahead and I will type in collagen supplementation because that's what I want to look into. And I get my search results. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to narrow down the window of time that my search results are in. So I'm going to take the little cursor, I'm going to move it along, and I'm going to go for about a 10-year span here. So that way I narrow down my options and find research that's more current. And once I've finished doing that, I'll get all the search results, but there's still some other things I want to narrow down. There's something called a literature review or a meta-analysis, and those are basically where you write down all that you can find about other research articles and kind of create a summary of what they're saying, and you compare and contrast the different studies. And I don't really want that because I just want a normal article, clinical trial, randomized control trial to go through like the different steps of a project. So I'll scroll down here and you can see the article types. I'm going to go ahead, randomized control trial, yes. We want a clinical trial, yes, that will also work. And then once we have really narrowed down our search, about 200 results is a lot easier than 2,000. So we're going to come down here and I'm just going to read the titles, find one that I think is going to work for what I'm looking for. And I see right here there's an article called oral supplementation, which is what I'm looking for, with specific bioactive collagen peptides improves nail growth and reduces symptoms of brittle nails. So that's kind of what I'm interested in looking at, so I can kind of read through, see the results, see the abstract. It kind of gives a brief summary of everything. And once you've gone through that, you can kind of see, okay, is this an article I really want to spend more time reading through? I do want to read through this article, so I'm going to go ahead and click full text links, and then I'm going to come to here, and sometimes you have to see if your university or organization allows you access, but I'm just going to scroll down. Okay, I can see that it does give me full access, but I like to highlight, so I'm going to go ahead and download the PDF of this article, so that way I can download it and I can highlight it and annotate to my heart's content. So once this is loaded, you just go ahead and click the download button, and I just save it to my downloads, and I can see the full study is here. You also get a sense for how long it is. This one's 7 pages, which is helpful. So once I've downloaded that, I'm actually going to use a program called OneNote. It's by Microsoft. I think it's so easy for taking notes and keeping everything in one place and being able to really customize and organize everything. So I'm just making this kind of fake little folder for this paper. So once I've kind of made my note in this notebook, I will go ahead and I'm going to show you how to insert a PDF or a document. So go to insert and then print out, and that will upload everything that we are looking at today. So I find this, when I first pull it up, is too small, so I'm just going to go ahead and resize a little bit. And I'm just going to resize the whole document here. That's much better. I can read now. So now that we have gotten that formatted, it's time for us to kind of dive into the actual article itself, and I start with the abstract. I read the summary, get an idea of what we're working with here, so that way as I'm reading through the rest of the paper, I'm not lost.
Every research article is going to have a similar format. It's going to start with an introduction. It's going to go into the methods that they are using to test their hypothesis. It'll give an explanation of the results from each of the points from the methods, and then it'll go into a discussion where they really talk about what is the takeaways and what is their overall findings. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to highlight the main aim or goal of the study in green. And this is something that helps me stay focused on the point of the paper whenever I am reading through it. I can always see what we're going to be coming back to. So here in this one, we are really going to be looking for symptoms of brittle nails and improvement of nail growth rate. Those are our two dependent variables, shall we say. And then I just scan through the rest of it, kind of see what's there.
The introduction. The introduction is filled with background about previous research that's been done, prevalence of certain things. So in this case, it talks about the prevalence of brittle nails. It talks about different metabolic pathways and just anything that's going to relate to this study. They can be really long and they can also be pretty short. So luckily we have a short one here today, which is great. So I'm just reading through it, seeing if there's anything that I need to highlight. So now we're going to move on to the materials and methods. And what I am finding here is that I tend to skim this section because it's important to an extent, but I also think that there's more valuable information later and I wouldn't want to spend the time now looking into all of that. It'll talk to you about what kind of study design there are. It's good for telling you what kind of subjects there are. If you want to look for how to change variables in the study to kind of create your own study from, using the methods is really important. Here we have 25 healthy women who are enrolled in this study, and they're going to receive a dose of collagen for 6 months every day. And then they're going to have a 4-week observation period where they are off the therapy. So that's good to know. That it says their ages, which is important to know because, okay, maybe that's a healthier population. Then going through just the rest of this really quickly, like I said, just skimming, looking at how they're going to be measuring it, the timing of measurements. It looks like they've got frequency of chipped nails or cracked nails. They have a growth rate assessment and patient satisfaction with their nails. So that's kind of what I am seeing from this. Another section here is how they do their analysis. And so if you take stats, it makes it a lot easier to actually understand the analysis. Then we come to the results of the study, and this is very much like scientific results. So it'll say, okay, they started at this baseline and now they're at this baseline. They don't really pull takeaways from it. They merely just state what the data is. So I'm going to change the color to blue to kind of show the results. So it says that like after 12 weeks, people dropped into a lower category than they were before, and after 24 weeks, it says here that there was only a few people that were still in the severe category. So this is showing us that there is improvement, and this is the exact improvement. There's a lot of participants who didn't have any symptoms anymore, which is great. This is just looking at the different benchmarks of time. What are we seeing at week 12 compared to week 24? We can see that their frequency of chipped nails and cracked nails is decreasing, growth rate is increasing. So overall, a general improvement. So that's what I noticed from here. And now let's move on to the discussion. Now, this is kind of where you take the results and you marry it with the aim of the study or the goal of the study. So I'm going to bring it back to green so we can figure out what is really answering our question that we had at the beginning of the study. So I'm going to go back and reference that. Okay, we're again looking for symptoms of brittle nails and improvement in nail growth rate. Back down in the discussion, we can see this is really their commentary on the results. So we see that there was considerable clinical improvement, increase in growth rate, and decrease in frequency of broken nails. That's exactly what the question was asking, which is perfect. This is very interesting to see that, that timeline worked. It was obviously dedicated to the collagen supplement they were taking. So this study is interesting because it kind of talks about the pathway that things happen in, that the actual collagen itself is meant to be a signal molecule to build up areas of collagen, but the actual amino acids themselves are for structural use. It's the collagen itself that is the messenger of where should that go. So that is an interesting little piece of physiology, maybe something I'd want to study more about if this was a topic I was researching. Going back to green, just in case, yep, we see improvements in brittle nails that were due to the effects of the collagen peptides. So there we have it. We can see in the study, in this part of the discussion as well, kind of once they've gone through the results, they might talk about things like what bias was there in this study. They also might talk about what are next steps for research to improve knowledge of this field. So those things are kind of some of the general features that you'll see in a discussion. They can be really long or they can be pretty short, just depending. This is an interesting point too. It said they might be the result of increased water binding capacity of brittle nails promoted by the collagen supplementation. So that again would be something where I'd be like, oh, that would be something I'd want to research more about, and then I could create a study and
have participants come and measure all of those things. So definitely a lot of really good things that you can see in the discussion. One of the more important things to learn and understand is how to read the figures. A tip I would say is read the figure description, but then also find the spot in the actual study where it says reference figure, whatever. And in there you kind of find what's happening. So here we can see that these are at different points in the study. We're seeing at 0 weeks where everyone's sitting. Then after 12 weeks, after 24 weeks, we can see that we are moving from severe to more and more moderate, and even seeing some none showing up. So that is a really good sign of that, and that trend continues with like the peeling of their nails, the ridges. So it just overall, you can see that that's showing a general positive trend in these specific areas. Okay, moving on to one more figure that we'll kind of dissect together. This is figure number 3, and this is talking about the global or overall clinical improvement after 5 weeks. So we can see that this trend kind of really continues on. In this figure, we're seeing that as time goes on from 0 to 12 to 24 weeks, and even in the washout period, we're seeing a lot of improvement in these nails. So we're moving from a worse category to none to fair to good to excellent. So obviously there's a lot of improving with collagen supplementation. So then let's say I like this article. Let's say I need 5 sources for my paper. Well, this would be a time when I would go down to a specific piece in the article. There was a little footnote to give you a reference. So here, this metabolic pathway, maybe I want to research more about that. So I can see that there's a couple different article numbers, article or source number 10, 13, 19. So then basically I just scroll down to the bottom and then I check out those different research articles. So, I can plug that into PubMed, find it, and be able to read about it. And, let's say that was a good source. Okay, I have another source for my paper. Sweet. I love that. But then let's say the next one, it doesn't quite fit my paper. That's all right, But then it's kind of like this domino effect where you read a paper, you find a source on the paper, and then you can use that to find another source and another source. So it doesn't have to be as difficult once you start getting your feet into it. You can find articles that will help to improve your paper just from simply doing that. And this is something that you can do really easily with systematic reviews, literature reviews, meta-analyses. You just read through them, they'll describe articles, and you can go to the bottom, find them, and write about them. So that's something that I would definitely recommend if you're looking for more sources, or if you were particularly interested in something that the paper mentioned. A really, really good place to find.
Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it really helpful. I have taken years to develop this skill, and I wish somebody would have taught me how to read research when I first got started. So hopefully this helps you feel less intimidated about it and feel more confident in knowing that you can read research. Thanks again for watching. Hopefully it was helpful for you, and I hope you have learned something new today.